Hey again. Let's take a quick look at a graphing program called Desmos. It's online, so it'll work with any device you've got, Mac, PC, tablet, whatever you got. It's quite easy to use, and it is very fast and powerful. It is one of the most beautiful programs I've ever used. So let's start by going to desmos.com. And if you do that, you'll get this page right here. From there, it's pretty straightforward. Just click on Graphing Calculator, the big button in the middle. That takes us to here. From here, up in the corner, we can graph some simple equations. So something like maybe y equals x squared, and this will take a little bit of getting used to, but if you go down to the bottom corner here, you can see that there's some formats you can use. So I could do squared that way, or I can just use upward arrow. So that was shift 6 on my computer. I'm not sure what it is on yours, but a little up arrow, and then the square. And boom, there's my graph right there. Pretty fast, pretty easy. I can put a few others on here, and they'll be different colors. So let's put a simple linear function on there, y equals x plus 1. And maybe a little bit more exciting one, y equals sine of x. That's interesting. Okay, so once I've got those on there, I can do different things. If you have a mouse, you can scroll in and out to zoom and unzoom, which is pretty cool. If there's a certain whatever that you would like to see, so let me just go over here for a second to the left-hand side. I can turn on and off individual graphs and turn them off, turn them back on again, depending on which ones I want to see. Let's say that I'm concerned just for this one part of the sine graph. Actually, no, let's do the whole sine. Nah, just the top part. We'll just do this one crest. So if I wanted to focus on it, and I didn't want to necessarily have a whole lot of other stuff, I can go up here to the settings bar. One thing I do like to do is, did they change it? There we go. They just call it a different name now. I go to the bold just so it's a little bit more clear. There's a few other options there we're not going to worry about. What we do care about here is the x-axis and y-axis. So if I'm only caring about this one crest, the x between about 0 and 3 and a bit. Now, actually, I'll show you a neat little function here. If I click on this, it'll show me what that value is. It's actually exactly pi, or 3.14. The 0 there is 0, 0. And this peak here occurs at a value of pi over 2, which makes sense. It's halfway. And 1. So it gives you all these maximum, minimums, intersection points, which is really pretty a cool feature. Something we're going to want to take advantage of later. But now that I know it goes from 0 to pi to make that one crest, I can maybe zoom in on it a little bit and say I want to go from, well, let's see what happens if I do 0 to pi. And I don't have a pi button on my board, so I'm just going to do 3.14. And you'll see that that's kind of neat, but like it kind of cuts off at the edges. So usually what I like to do is just go in a little bit, leave it a little excess. So instead of going from 0 to 3.14, I might go from negative 0.5 to 3.6. 3.64 just for ultimate symmetry. Okay, so that's starting to look a little better. Well, let me get rid of that down at the bottom there. But it's pretty low, and I'd really like to take advantage of it and see it a little better. So I can see that it goes from 0 up to 1. I'm going to change the y-axis from negative 0.2 to 1.2. And again, that's just so that I can see everything and I don't have to worry too much about losing details because they're too small or too faint. And from there, I hesitate to do this because it's always hard to get back, but I can zoom in and out again. It looks a little bit different than before, and that's just because it's not a one-to-one ratio. The boxes are higher than they are wide. So this is one high and this is one wide. Okay, so let's zoom back in on what we were looking at before. Not exactly where we were, but pretty close. And let's say I wanted to solve something like when is sine x equal to x squared. Well, I can just put those both on, and I can say, oh, when x is 0, it seems to be true because it's an intersection point between those. And also when x is 0.877. Very quick and easy way to solve a very tough equation. Algebraically, sine x equals x squared, super tough, but we did it with relative ease. Now I could also do the intersection points between sine x and x plus 1, which you can see happens over here. That's where the zoom in, zoom out is really nice. And again, go back up here and change the scales anytime you want to. Okay, so I can see that that's the answer. Those two will be equal when x is negative 1.935. Cool. And then you can do all kinds of other stuff. Let me just show you a couple little features. Let's say that I want to change the amplitude on this. I can just change that to a 2 and it'll grow twice as high, or 3 and it'll grow 3 times as high. What I can also do is just put a variable in there like a. And it says here below that add a slider, so I will add a slider. And what this does is it lets a go for values between positive 10 and negative 10. And I can click this play button and it will basically just scroll through the different versions and you can see what happens. Or you can manually grab the dot and just change it to whatever value you want and see what effect a has on that. So we can see that as a gets bigger, it stretches upwards. As a gets smaller, it stretches down until it reaches 0. And then negative flips it upside down, does the same thing. So we can play with different variables. And we can add more variables if we want. So for instance, I can put a few other things there. I can put kx minus d plus c, and I'll add sliders for all those things. And then I can see that changing the k does that. Stretches and squishes it horizontally. I can see that the d slides it side to side. Kind of cool. I can see the c moves it up and down. And a does what I said it would do before. So that lets us play with the functions really, really well. So much faster than graphing by hand, as I think you've already kind of realized. And basically, that's the features that we care about right now. Desmos can do a little bit more than that, and when we get there, we'll talk more about it as needed. But for now, I just want you to see that it's a quick and easy way of graphing whatever kind of function you want. So I'm going to call it a day, at least for this video, and we'll catch up with you sometime in the near future. Have a good one.